And welcome to today's video. Today I'm going over the 2024 Senate map, and I'm looking at every key polling average in every single key battleground state. Right now there are 42 Democratic Senate seats that are solid Democratic, 47 we see as solid Republican. There are 11 remaining Senate races that are very important, that are toss-ups, that are battlegrounds, and that will decide which party controls the US majority in the Senate. Today I'm going to be looking at the polling averages in every single one of these battlegrounds and just doing the 2024 Senate map based on what the polls say and see which party wins the majority. We're going to start in the south of Florida, the state of Florida, and we're going to go to the 2024 RCP Senate map, where right now the state of Florida has Rick Scott leading by 4.8%. Rick Scott's leading here by 4.8%. We're also going to look just at some recent election history on the Senate map in Florida. So we're going to go to Senate. 2022, the last time there was a Senate race in Florida, Marco Rubio won by 16 points. In 2018, the last time Rick Scott was on the ballot, he won by 0.12%, very close. And in 2016, Rubio won by 7.7%. So again, Rick Scott is currently leading his Democratic challenger by 4.8%. That would be enough to put the state of Florida at 4.8%, just under the 5% threshold, putting it as a lean Republican state. Now we're going to look at the state of Nebraska, actually. We're going to go to Nebraska, because this one is actually very interesting, where right now in the current polling averages, there's a Democrat or Republican plus 7 and Republican plus 2, which averages up to Republican plus 9 divided by 2 would be Republican plus 4.5. So based on the latest polling averages in Nebraska, that would actually have that state going into the lean Republican column. So Nebraska is very interesting. The independent candidate is giving the Republican incumbent Deb Fischer a very hard run for her money. So that's a very interesting race to watch there. Now we're going to look at the state of Maryland. This is Democratic candidate Angela Alsobrooks running against former Governor Larry Hogan on the Republican side. Right now, Alsobrooks has a lead in the RCP polling average of 11.3%. 11.3%, a large lead in the state of Maryland. Looking at some recent election results for Maryland, in 2022, there was a Senate race where the Democratic candidate won by 31 points. In 2018, there was a Senate race where the Democrat won by 34. In 2016, the Democrat won by 25. So this race is certainly much closer than all the past Senate races in Maryland due to Larry Hogan, the former popular governor, being on the ballot. Still, the Democrat is leading by 11.3. We can expect Maryland to go into the likely Democratic column for election night based on the latest polling averages. Now we're getting into the states that we're starting to see is really competitive. Republicans have 49, Democrats have 43, 8 remaining. We're going to go to the state of Texas. The state of Texas is very fascinating. This is Ted Cruz versus Colin Allred. Right now, Ted Cruz has a lead in the RCP polling average of 4.1%. Very close race. Ted Cruz, 4.1% lead right now. Looking at some recent elections in Texas, in 2020, last time there was an election there, John Cornyn led by 9.6% is what he won the election by. In 2018, this is the very close Ted Cruz versus Beto O'Rourke race, was a 2.6% win for Cruz over O'Rourke. In 2016, there was not a race. 2014, Cornyn won by 27. The polls right now show 2018's 2.6% win for Cruz seems to be closer than what 2020 was, where it was a 9.6% win for Cornyn. We're probably looking at something similar to 2018. Very close race in the state of Texas, 4.1%. That would give Texas in the lean Republican column for Ted Cruz. A very close race to watch there. Now to the state of Arizona. Arizona is a very close Senate race between Ruben Gallego and Kari Lake. Right now, the latest polls after the Atlas Intel poll just came in. Ruben Gallego is 49.3%. Kari Lake has 3.9%. That is a 3.9%, or 45.4%, excuse me, a 3.9% lead for Gallego. This is one where Gallego's numbers actually going down in the last few days, and Lake's have been going up. This poll makes Lake's numbers go down by about 0.1%, but the trend has been this race is getting closer, so this is very interesting. Looking at some recent election results in Arizona, in 2020, the Senate race, Mark Kelly defeated his Republican challenger, Blake Masters, by 4.9%. 2020, I believe this was the special election. Mark Kelly won against Martha McSally by 2.3%. Very close. And 2018, Kirsten Sinema won this current Senate seat by 2.3%. So very close races there. All of Arizona's races have been very close. In the last 3 elections, they've also all been won by the Democrats. Very close as well. Based on the current polling average right now, that 3.9%, as it's getting closer towards Election Day, this seems to be in line with the Democratic candidate winning this race by about 2 to 3 percentage points based on the past election results would line up pretty well. The polling average currently has Gallego up 3.9. That would be enough to put the state of Arizona into the lean Democratic column. Now looking at the state of Nevada. Nevada is a very interesting race between Democratic incumbent Jackie Rosen and Republican challenger Sam Brown. Right now, the polling average has Rosen at 48, Sam Brown at 43.8. This also comes in as Atlas Intel just released their poll that has Rosen +2, Trafalgar has Rosen up 2, CNN had Rosen up 9, Insider Advantage has Rosen +4. Brown was going up a little bit in the polls and seems to have kind of stagnated around 43.5% to 44%. Rosen has been up and down a little bit, but still holds an advantage of about 4.2%. Looking at some election results in Nevada, a very close race. In 2022, Catherine Cortez Masto, the incumbent Democratic senator, nearly defeated Republican challenger Adam Laxalt by 0.78%. Extremely close race, extremely close in 2022. In 2018, Jackie Rosen won her race against Republican incumbent Dean Heller by 5% margin of victory. A very 2018 was a more of a Democratic wave year, but still an impressive win for Rosen. In 2016, Catherine Cortez Masto, the first time she was on the ballot, won by 2.4%. So based on the election results, it seems likely the Democrat would win, probably somewhere under 2 to 2.5 percentage points. And the polls right now, as I showed you, Rosen's leading by about 4.2. So it looks like Rosen is pretty much on her way to winning this race by a lean Democratic column or lean Democratic margin, and the 4.2% would put Nevada into the lean Democratic column. So Democrats currently have 45 Senate races, Republicans have 50. Now we're going to look at the state of Montana, one of the states where Republicans are currently facing a Democratic incumbent and the Republican is leading. Republican Tim Sheehy is leading against Democratic incumbent John Tester, 51 to 44.5. The Hill Emerson had a poll that showed it was a 4-point race. That is the closest poll there has been in a very long time. New York Times has this as an 8-point lead for Sheehy, as does several of the other polls. Right now, Sheehy 51, Tester 44.5, a 6.5% lead. Looking at some election results in Montana on the Senate side, in 2020, Steve Daines defeated then Democratic Governor Steve Bullock by a 10% margin of victory. The last time that Tester was on the ballot was 2018, where Tester won against Matt Rosendale by 3.6% margin of victory. And in 2014, this is when Steve Daines won his seat, 17.7% margin of victory. I think we're looking at something more similar. I think 2020's 10-point win for Daines was a little too large for this Senate race. It's possible, but I think it's a little too large. But right now the polls suggest a 6.5% win for Sheehy over Tester. That's what will be on the map, and I think that's more likely what's going to be on election night. This would put the state of Montana in the likely Republican column. Republicans have 51, Democrats have 45. Now we're into the remaining Rust Belt Senate seat states. All of them very, very close, have competitive races going on right now. Starting with the state of Wisconsin. Wisconsin, this is Democratic incumbent Tammy Baldwin facing up against Republican Eric Hovde. This is a very close race. Baldwin has a lead right now of 48.2 to 47.6, a 0.6% lead. The latest Atlas Intel poll has this as a tied race. Hovde's up 1 in Insider Advantage. Baldwin's up 2 in CNN and USA Today. Emerson has a tied. Marquette and Quinnipiac a 2.1 point race lead for Baldwin. Trafalgar has Hovde up 1. This is such a close race, very, very close. The poll's been getting really tight in this one. 0.6% lead right now for Baldwin over Hovde. Looking at the past election results, in Wisconsin, Republican incumbent Ron Johnson won this race by just 1% over Democratic challenger Mandela Barnes, a super close race. In 2018, Tammy Baldwin won re-election against her Republican challenger by 10.8%. And in 2016, Ron Johnson won by 3.4%. This is looking like a very close race in Wisconsin where truly either candidate is capable of winning and can win this race. It's that close. It really is going to come down to the wire on election night. Right now, the polls have Baldwin up 0.6%, which would put Wisconsin in the narrow tilt Democratic column. But man, this one is getting closer and closer by the day. And by election day, who knows, maybe the polls flip on this one because this is getting very, very close. Democrats 46, Republicans 51. Now to the state of Michigan. Michigan right next door to Wisconsin. Michigan Senate race, Democratic Congresswoman Elisa Slotkin running against Republican Mike Rogers. Right now, Slotkin leads in the polling average by 3.1%. Atlas Intel's new poll is Slotkin up 4. Mitchell Research has Rogers +2. Insider Advantage is a tie. And then every other poll has a 2 to 1 point or more lead for Elisa Slotkin. It seems like the trend in this race has been that Slotkin is starting to pull ahead leading into Election Day. Looking at some election results in the state of Michigan, in 2020, the last time there was a Senate race, Democratic incumbent Carrie Peters defeated John James by 1.7%. In 2018, Debbie Stabenow, the Democratic incumbent, also defeated John James in the first time he ran by 6.5%. And looking at 2014, Gary Peters won this race by 13.3%. Looking like a lean Democratic win right now in the state of Michigan for the Senate race. The polls have it at 3.1%, and that would go into the lean Democratic column for Elisa Slotkin winning there. Now we have the state of Ohio, one of the closest Senate races in the entire country. This is one I actually disagreed with the polls on in my prior video, but this is getting very close. Sherrod Brown, the Democratic incumbent, has 47.4%. Republican challenger Bernie Moreno has 46.4%. And my rationale for giving this to Moreno in my prediction video was that Donald Trump is going to run far ahead of Kamala Harris in the state of Ohio, likely over 8% on election night, which would be enough to help Moreno. The polls right now, though, do have Sherrod Brown leading over Bernie Moreno. Now, this is very, very important because you look in Ohio, J.D. Vance, the last time there was a Senate race, won this over Tim Ryan by 6.1%. In 2018, Sherrod Brown won his re-election by 6.8% in 2018 over the Republican. In 2016, Rob Portman, the then incumbent senator from Ohio, won by 20.9%. But also back in 2012, when Sherrod Brown won the state of Ohio, won re-election, he won against Republican Josh Mandel by 6%. So Brown has a history of being re-elected in a state of Ohio, and it's more honestly impressive in 2018 than 2012, given Obama won in 2012. But it was a very close state then. Now it's a more Republican state, and yet in 2018, Brown was still able to hold on. Now the question will be, will Trump being on the ballot hurt Brown's chances of winning? That remains to be seen. But right now, the polls have Brown leading by 1 point. So just by the thinnest of margins, that would go into the tilt Democratic column, borderline between tilt and lean Democratic, but just barely tilt. That's 48 for the Democrats, 51 for the Republicans. Now we have the state of Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania, this is Democratic incumbent Senator Bob Casey. Right now, the polls have Bob Casey leading by 2.6% over Republican challenger Dave McCormick, a race that's been very, very close and getting really close until the last few days, where it's now started to break off a little bit for Bob Casey, going from 1.4% around October 27th to about October 31st to Halloween, 2.6% lead for Bob Casey. Atlas Intel's latest poll has Casey +3. It seems the polls are suggesting that Casey's name ID in the state of Pennsylvania that may have been going away a little bit in the coming days is now starting to return right before Election Day, and Casey is starting to peak just at the right time. In the past elections in Pennsylvania in 2022, John Fetterman defeated Dr. Mehmet Oz in the Senate race by 4.9%. In 2018, Bob Casey defeated his Republican challenger Lou Barletta by 13.1%. In 2016, the last time a Republican won was Pat Toomey, winning the state by 1.4%. Right now, it's looking to me, based on the polls, that we're going to see a 2022 matchup of a 4.9% Democratic win. I think that's looking more likely than a 2016 1.4% Republican win. Anything is possible, but it looks like Bob Casey's name recognition in the state of Pennsylvania is helping him in the final days. And one last time, the polls have Casey leading by 2.6% going into Election Day. That would put the state of Pennsylvania into the lean Democratic column. So based on the latest polling averages in every single key state on the Senate map, Republicans have the Senate majority by just one seat, 51, to Democrats 49, with a lot of close races around the country, especially in Ohio and Wisconsin. Very, very fascinating to watch for going into Election Day. That'll do it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Please remember to click like and subscribe on this video. Tap the bell icon to get notified when I post a new video. Thank you so much for watching. Hope to see you in a future video. That will do it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please remember to give it a like. And if you really liked it, please remember to click the subscribe button. And make sure you turn post notifications on so you always get notified when I post a new video. That way you never miss one. Also, please remember to share this video with your friends and family if you really like the video. And remember to stay tuned because I'll be posting at least one video every single day leading up until Election Day. So I'd really appreciate it if you keep coming back and watching those videos. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in a future video.